Hello, everyone. God bless you all. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for church on Monday. We
Yes, God
are,
bless everybody. We are back, Church on Monday. We're definitely happy to be with you guys tonight. And, we have a special guest tonight.
Brenda. We were before we got on live. We were talking, catching up a little bit, laughing a little bit as the life of parents and things like that. So, I don't feel like I have to introduce Brenda. Brenda is
Yeah.
family. Someone that we know for a really long time. So, but if you want to, Brenda, you can.
for
Just
those that
kind
don't, for those that don't know
of.
you.
Humildemente, Brenda Rivera de Meriden, Connecticut, well, New Britain now. Yeah, I'm a mother of six, and I loved when you told me about family. We were like, okay, let's go on here and let's talk about family because it's what we do all day.
Yeah. I just want to share, and I want to share this. I want to share this publicly, and you know, I believe that God places people in our lives to teach us things. And my first kind of journey through like ministry and kind of like that, when we are young, kind of that desire of like we want to go out there and like minister to the world and get on planes and stuff like that. I'm really glad that God put me and connected me with like Brenda and Emily, and they kind of adopted me as like a son basically. And I was really able to learn a lot. And I don't want to say this when we leave this earth. So I'm gonna say this here, but I'm like super grateful for Brenda. Brenda's like in the history of like me as like a minister, as like a person. Brenda's like etched there because I learned so much from her family, from Emily. And one of the things that stuck around with me was Brenda's was always like family oriented. I remember kind of visiting and kind of doing the pizza nights with Jose at the house and like just the kids. So
Yeah.
like I don't know, like talk to me, like talk me through that, like just for you, like as a minister, mom, songwriter, wife, like how do you do it? How like oh my god.
I'll tell you, like I don't always get it right. I gotta be honest, I don't always get it right. And there was a time where I had to kind of like bring myself back because I was doing too much of everything else and I kind of wasn't giving my family that time. But yeah, I remember you coming and I remember our kids have always been involved. Like it's either you take all of us or you take none. Um so like there have been like times now, especially in the recent years, where me and Jose have had to have that time where we're like and we're leaving the kids, we have to have that time alone. But most of the time, we have them. It's just, they need to know what it is, what this is, what life is, ministry and everything else. I I don't even know how to explain it because it's something like Jose and I were talking about it this week. We're like, oh my gosh, like our two oldest, which when you were around, it
Oh
was
my
basically our
god.
three. It was Cassandra as well. And I think
Mhm.
Kelvin, yes, Kelvin was there as well. But the two oldest, like they've seen more of everything that has happened in our lives. We learn how to parent with them. We learn how to have a marriage with them. And they've kind of been through the worst of our lives with us, because we were still learning. But how do I do it? I gotta say it's the grace of God. Like my cousin told me, Kiara, you guys know Kiara.
Yeah.
Kiara called me the other day and she's like, "Oh, you're so graceful." And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? And she's like, you just do it so gracefully. And I guess, I don't know, I've been doing it for so long. It's like you learn how to talk to your kids, you learn how to get everything done, without, you know, like kind of not flipping out, but without having that breakdown every single day.
Mhm.
Cause, as a mother, Michelle,
Yeah.
getting ready every morning, getting them ready at the schedule, the routine. Sometimes we have to just break the routine and say, okay, today's just a day that we're just gonna, because I can't lose my head over this, But yeah, I guess you just learn how to manage. It's a lot, but you learn how to manage.
Yeah.
You learn
Yeah.
how to
And so I was looking back today. I'm like, wait, I know that we had Brenda on here like when we first started this.
Mhm.
We started out as Let's Talk, not Church on Monday. So I
yes,
literally
yep.
went back and the first time we had you was on our third episode and this was like May 2020.
That's been
Wow.
2 years.
That's like
Yeah.
mid pandemic, everything's going on.
Yes.
So I know that that year specifically, like a lot, shifted. That caused a lot of things to, bring about change. So maybe from that point till like now, what are some like takeaways for you, especially being that you play so many roles, you're like Brady said, you're a mom, you're doing ministry, you work, you're a wife. So from there, being that like was a pivotal point, I think, for everybody, what are some takeaways for you, or what are some things that now you're like implementing because of that time frame?
Yeah. During the pandemic, I realized a lot of things, and I think a lot of people, we were seeing a lot of families sadly just break up. We were seeing a lot of divorces happening. It's like
Yes.
people had no choice but to be with their husbands, and then being there, it was like, oh my God, do I really like this guy? I'm like, oh my God, really, is this happening? So many divorces were happening. It was so sad. Like I was like, oh my
That's
God,
true.
why are there so many breakups right now? Um, during the pandemic, our family just got really close. I remember at one point, my daughter, my Brianna, she was probably 7 at the time. Um, she just broke down one day and she's like, we're doing the classes online, and I'm thinking everybody's liking it because we're home. That's what the kids are always complaining. They hate going to
Yeah.
school. So I'm like, they're happy here. And I remember her just having a breakdown and telling me like, I don't have my friends with me. I don't have anyone here. Um, I don't have. I need to see people. Like her social life was basically like, you know, to zero. And I remember just from that point on, just trying to get to like in the hopes of making her feel better, just sitting down with her more and getting to know her more. And it was so I would say like eye-opening to me to
Yeah.
know that there were so many things about my kids that I had been missing and didn't realize that I
That's
had.
Wow.
true.
So like, oh my God, you like that show? I didn't know you liked that show. Oh, you like that song? Like, are you serious? What was I doing? Why was I so busy that I was missing these little things? And so we got closer. We got closer. Me and my husband, we got closer. Like we just became more family. We've always been family oriented, but
Uh-huh.
we were able to just, I don't know, grow closer as a family,
Yeah.
and have each other's back a little more than what we did before. And yeah, it's just been a big eye opener. Gotten closer. We've done a lot more things as a family. We've always had this thing where we like driving around. We'll get in the car and we'll just go, we'll get lost somewhere in Connecticut, and then we'll just turn off the GPS and find our way back home.
Oh
Wow.
wow.
It's fun to do. I gotta say it's stressful in the beginning because like it's a
we
lot of
might we
people in
might just
the car.
try that one time.
Yeah,
Once the gas comes down a little bit.
yeah, think about it. Yeah. It has gone down though. I was looking at the
Yeah,
video. It's going down. But yeah, we've done we used to do that, but then like now just doing more things together as a family, like reading the Bible together, talking about. I'm gonna give you a topic, and you research on that, and we'll talk about it later. Just I've been able to see even my kids just love for God and love for church just grow through the pandemic when people were just steering away. My kids have gotten closer. So it's been to me, it's been a blessing in many ways. I can't even start to testify how many things have happened over the last few years, but it's been a big blessing.
Brenda, you mentioned the grace of God earlier. Um, and I think you're a worshiper. That is you. That is you. And I want to include myself in that. Um, Sometimes God allows us to experience things, to be able to worship from a point of like personal experience, not just because you read it somewhere and you like read it in a book and like someone has there like in the past years, you as like a family, like has there been a revelation that God has given you that's kind of like transformed into like a worship or like a way of worship for you?
Yeah, I gotta say I know I've talked about it many times, and I just mentioned the other day, I'm gonna continue to testify about this,
Yeah, go ahead.
even if I testify a million times. But back in December, November 24th, my son suffered an accident. My 6-year-old, well, my 5-year-old, he was 4 then. Alex is my youngest. Where he got cut with a ninja blade. Okay, so this was on his left hand, from his wrist down to the middle of his arm, cut down the nerves and the tendons,
Wow.
and completely severed, and went all the way down. It was probably like 3 to 4 inches, I believe they said it was. So it was a really bad. When I tell you, it was the worst day of our lives. My kids will say that that was the worst day of their life. We thought we were gonna lose our son. Um, I'll never forget that, even through the screaming, the hollering, because when I saw the blood and everybody seen blood, my husband, Jose had him held. Jose knew what to do because he had been trained through his job what to do in
Mm-hmm.
emergency. I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
screaming and hitting the wall like, oh my
I could
God.
imagine.
That's so
And you know
scary.
what? I'm CPR certified. Eso se fue down the
No,
drain.
no,
Yes.
Because when it's your kids, you be sticking your hand in their throat, like trying to take the object out,
yeah.
like everything that I tell you not to do. But I'll never forget just when that happened and when the ambulance, waiting for the ambulance to get here, and the worst time once I got into the ambulance, well, on my way out to the ambulance, I look back and my children are all on their knees and
Oh
they're
Wow.
crying
wow.
out to God. And like it was something that like I was so busy screaming and doing everything that when I look back and I saw my oldest son, Jonathan, when I saw him just telling everybody, get on your knees, let's pray. Like he
Wow.
knew where to go, they knew what to do.
Wow.
God does the miracle. Months have passed by, and God has done a big miracle in Alex because he's moving his hand in ways that the doctor didn't think he was going to move it already.
Wow. That's a
He's got
blessing.
90%, of his hand moving back. He's doing very good. But all this just to tell you, like that experience, that happened on Wednesday. On Thursday morning, I was going to be releasing a new song.
Mm.
So I'm sitting in the ER, and I can't say I was mad because I really genuinely wasn't mad, but I was just sad. Like I don't even. Everybody's writing to me. Oh my God, your song's gonna release tomorrow. I'm like, don't talk to me
Yeah.
about the song right now. Like
Mhm.
it's about my baby right now. So the next day comes, my sister comes in. She's like, oh my God, the song released, and we're all excited. I couldn't get myself to the point where I was genuinely excited. Everybody gets. You know how it is when you release
Yeah,
a
Yeah.
song.
yeah.
Like you're on there and you're waiting and I couldn't get myself to that point. But I remember my sister telling me, that same day, the day of the operation, he's still God and he still deserves the glory. Like
Mm.
at the end of the day, I know this is a hard situation, but he's still God and he still deserves the glory. And I just going back to that, like that song, and even just my worship, not that song period. My worship has taken a whole new meaning ever since
Wow.
that experience. Um, like my songs when I'm writing, not that I had a bad, like not that I didn't have a reason before, but if there was a reason before, there's more of a reason now. Like,
Yeah.
God, you did this. Like my son, you spared his life. He could have bled out. It could have been his artery. He was like he was right next to the artery where
Mm.
he had gotten his cut. The doctor
Wow.
said that if he would have moved a little bit, it would have gotten his artery. He could have bled out. But God is so good that in his mercy, a few months later, I spoke to someone that had seen my testimony on Facebook, and she tells me, I have to call you. I hadn't spoken to her in months. And in years. And she's telling me that the same thing happened to her nephew.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yet what happened with him was he cut his face.
Oh my gosh.
And he's the same age as Alex, lost an eye. And to me, I'm like, sometimes we sit there and we can be so upset with our situations, but we
Mhm.
don't know some people are going through so much
Yeah.
more.
Yup.
So that right there was also an eye opener for me. But my worship, like I feel like it's just if not that I cared before, because I don't want to say I cared before what people thought, but to a certain extent, we always try to like, "Ay, mantenerme en mi calma, tú sabes, mi postura,"
Yeah.
but I feel like I'm at the point where, oh my, I don't care if I annoy
Mhm.
you. I don't care if I'm screaming too much for you. Like, you don't know where God took me out of. You don't know what God did for my children, for my family. And yes, my worship has definitely taken a whole new meaning. Songs are coming. Songs are coming. But I just always ask God, like, just let it be. Let it be something that's gonna I just want to please you. I just want to lead others
Yeah.
to the throne and usher them into the presence of God. That's my main goal.
That
Yeah.
that for me, like that is so powerful. Like just kind of hearing you talk about it, like you being able to kind of in the middle of like a situation like that was like panic, like God, like I want to say like Jonathan, telling everyone like even though you said it, like he knew what to do and he knew
Yeah.
where to go. Like that's amazing. Like
And that goes to show that like
oh
children
my God.
specifically, the ones in our homes, like they're paying attention to everything that we do, everything that we are. Like even, just today, Emery asked me, Mommy, what's your middle name? And I'm like, Michelle? And she's like, no, but isn't your middle name mommy? Like, you're a mommy, you know?
Oh,
So that goes to show that children, like, they know to identify who you are. And the fact that, like Brady said, he knew, like, listen, it's time to pray. But that's because something that you've instilled in
Yeah.
them, they're able to see that through their mom.
yeah.
Do you feel like that, like something clicked in them, like after that situation, in terms of like their relationship with God? Like, I could
It,
imagine.
I can't even tell you, like, I cried. The week after we came back from the hospital, 4 days after, we all got COVID in the house.
Mm.
So now,
Wow.
on top of the fact that our kid, he's recovering. Now we all stuck upstairs with a recovering child.
Oh my
That's being
gosh.
that's being a spoiled brat right now because he knows he's getting what he wants,
Yeah.
right? And now and now they're all there having to deal with that. But we were all stuck upstairs in the second floor of my house, just
Wow.
in the room because our parents live with us as well. So there we didn't want to get them sick. So we're upstairs and I'm like, I'm going downstairs with everything covering up, going downstairs. We learn, I feel like that I've seen so much change in especially my three oldest. My daughter Cassandra, there was a point where everybody reaches that age that you're concerned about your child
Yeah.
and you're like, mío, pero
We're
eso
not there yet, but
No, I don't know. I mean, yeah,
Dios
maybe.
mío. I was concerned. I was like, God, does she love you? Like, you start concerning, and you're like, because your children's battles, you know what they battle.
Yeah.
And so as they get older, you'll know, like you'll start identifying, like I can tell that this is my daughter's weakness. I can tell this is what my son battles with. And that's when the conversations come in, talking to them about it. But I know I was concerned about her, but with all this that happened, I feel like there was such a turnaround for the three oldest, especially. Like
yeah.
just seeing their ahora la búsqueda, just the búsqueda for God, like the seeking of God's word. Like there's no better feeling than you walking into your son reading the word.
Mm.
Wow.
Or you saying, oh, you've been reading the word, like you're trying to get at them, right? Like a smart man, like you reading the word, yeah, and you're like, what you reading? Revelation, what?
Oh no.
Oh God.
Dios mío, pero tú vas a la milla. Like, where in Revelation are you reading? The seven church. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, but just to see that hunger, for the word of God. And I remember crying with them because I remember my son just he couldn't sleep at night because every time he would fall asleep, he would see the images of what he saw that day of the accident and
Wow.
not being able to sleep. And I feel so bad for him. And me having to just direct him to prayer. Like, okay, Dad and I are gonna sit here, we're gonna pray you through this. And we need you to pray for yourself as well. And we need you to just know how to just come before God and just tell God to just, it's a healing process. It's hard. But yeah, I have seen a big difference in them. But that day, just seeing like going back to that, just seeing the fact that they knew to pray, like that just it's still something that it happened back in November, but it still affects me now because it's true, like Michelle said, you know that you're teaching them the right thing when they know what to do.
Exactly. That is so true. And for you, I guess you've spoken about the side of family. How has like that affected maybe your marriage and then also ministry? Really spoke on the worship side, but we know that you don't only worship. We know that you're a leader. So
Yeah.
how has that changed your leadership as well and in your marriage?
Yeah. So our marriage is pretty much like me and Jose. I just thank God for the partner I have because Jose is very understanding when it comes down to it, because he's just as passionate as I am. And that's so important that when you choose someone that's just as passionate as you are.
Yeah,
I've seen so many couples struggling because they're both not in the same vision.
that's true.
So one of them thinks one of them is doing too much, or the other one thinks the other one's doing too little. But I've had that constant support from Jose, just like I've supported him as well. And like as far as affecting us, we have that balance. We really do. We
Yes.
have a balance where, okay, after 9 o'clock, like my kids right now, they went up, right? They ain't coming. You can't come back. You can't come to my room unless there's an issue. Okay. Like we have that time that's for us. Just this is when we're gonna talk. This is when we're gonna, and even if we talk ourselves to sleep, because let me tell you, Jose's voice will put me to sleep. It puts me to sleep. And he doesn't get it. He thinks he's boring me. I'm like, no, it's just that your voice
It's
is
soothing.
putting
It's
me
peaceful. It's peaceful.
it's
That
me like
pass.
running. But it's just having that time for ourselves. There's times where we just take like a Friday, and we'll be like, let's go out to eat. Let's just me and you, let's go. And we just sneak out and we're out. And it's just that balance of me and him having that time alone,
That's awesome.
and being able to enjoy each other as well.
And,
As far as leading, um, me and my husband talk about this all the time. We're youth counselors at our church. Our youth is so easygoing.
mm,
Like they really don't give us any issues. So it's like
exacto.
sometimes we're like, yo, we're not doing nothing. But it's that they're so easygoing. They love God. They love people. They love each other. And we really haven't had to sit there and just like, so it's that as far as leading them and being with them, it's been just
Mm,
it's just been an easy, smooth ride, And I've taken on a new task. We did our first youth camp this year that
Oh
passed.
wow.
Yeah, in June, and we had about 111 campers.
wow.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's including the campers and the volunteers. It was a victory. It
Mm,
was amazing, and just involving my kids in the process, I think that's where it became easier. It did get tough, because they're in school and I had to stay up late doing things for the camp. But as far as involving them, I think involving them in everything I did was very instrumental. My youngest ones, at least, aunque no estén haciendo nada y se creen que están haciendo algo, le doy un papel like, here, just write down something for me, and they think they're doing something, but you involve them, and then it becomes more easy, and they think that they're part of it, and that's what they need to feel.
yeah.
So I think as
Yeah.
long as everybody feels part of it, there's a balance.
Yeah.
And I
That's
just want
that's a
to,
key word
I
right
just want to
there.
testify, and this is, like, I'm telling you, like, just so like if I'm like a little brother, I can testify, like Jose, when Brenda's worshiping, like he is worshiping like as well, like he is not like he's almost as loud as Brenda,
Yes, he's
like
louder
like
than me.
like he's
He's
like
louder than
el
me.
entregado, like he's like there, like he's like, it's like that's the kind of like thing, like when they talk about like finding someone, connecting to someone that um it's understanding, but also also celebrates you as well, like it's
Yes.
there to support you, that can cover you in prayer when you go out to minister, that is there to help with the children, like that is like such an awesome thing to have. And even like the discipleship as a mom, and as a marriage, being able to bring your kids in, like I titled this kind of series, which like I was thinking was like after amen, like after the last, like pollo dice amen, like after that, right?
Behind the scenes.
Like, and that
Yeah.
most of the work happens during that time, right? Where like Brenda goes like, let's pray, hey, revelations, let's kind of get together, like that's what most of the work and the discipleship happens with the
Yeah.
kids. So to kind of hear you say that, and even for us, because we're young,
Young
we're
parents.
rookies still. Like we got a 1 year old
And a
and a
5-year-old.
5 year old. So we still have a long way to go. But to hear you and kind of watch you as you have like evolved, just kind of as a mom, as a leader, as
Yeah.
in just leadership, that is like amazing. Like just kind of like when you give yourself to God and you trust God with yours, like he will step in, like he'll take care of you. He will cover you.
Yeah. And
Um,
and and we've been so like really focused on like this whole topic and conversation of relationship connections and family, because like Brady said, you go up to the altar and ministry and everything is so great, but that's like after you start, everything starts at home. So the fact that you're able to build up that platform with your children, within your marriage, unfortunately, like you said, like through after the pandemic, there was so much disruption within the family, you know
oh
um
no, what's this? No, 10 minutes. It timed us.
Zoom's trying to cut us off already.
Oh,
So that's like, that was definitely so important. And I have to say, like, even for me, um having to stay back home and everything, like, God really had me focusing on, like, listen, I need you to focus on this aspect of motherhood. And it's something that I've just been like, God has been like molding and taking away and putting in. And then as a wife too, like Braylee and I, like you said, we sit down before we go to bed and all we do is talk. And God has really been working in that area. That's why we're talking about it so much. Just because family, the home is so important. It's the most important piece before we go out to the public, before we go out on a stage, before we go out on a pulpit to minister to somebody else, to minister balance to somebody else's life, you know. So
Well, Brenda, I have a question. The best advice you have received in your walk in Christ, if you can remember, thinking back,
that you still use today. If
that
there
you
was
still use
anything that
today, or
you
not best, or just like one that's really stuck out to you that kind of like a. I know you mentioned Emily kind of saying, God still gets the glory, no matter what, or maybe not advice, maybe just kind of like a moment that you said like, this is the lesson that God gave me, and because maybe there's somebody watching that heard that testimony, and I know that was a blessing for me. For me, it
yeah,
was, but
definitely.
kind of like somebody who's listening, like a lesson that God has revealed to you either personally through someone else. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I'm sorry.
No, 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 because there is just so many. Jose just walked in through the door and he's like, the best advice you got was to marry me. I'm like, okay. He's like, marry me, so
Braley
marry
Braley
me.
would say the same.
That's a good one.
So I
That's a
was
good one.
like trying to ignore him. He had just walked in when you guys were talking. But I would say I don't even know like if to say the best advice, and I've gotten so many that maybe my mind's just at the moment just clogged up. But I have to say that a lot of the best advice that I have gotten have been from I have a you have this circle, right?
Mhm.
I have people that I've grown up with that I'm very close to, but a lot of them don't serve the Lord. So a lot of them I can't really seek godly advice from, right?
Yeah.
But I have a certain people that I go to that I know that they're always gonna have that godly advice for my
Mm,
marriage, or even just that example and just seeing
Yes.
them. And to me, my sister and her husband, my pastors
mm,
big time, and I have two other couples at the church that when I know that when I feel like I need someone to go to, I know that they're always there for me. And even if I tell them pray for me, they already like they know, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and the God spirit filled people that I know are gonna know what to pray over my life for. So like as far as advice, I'm trying to think as I go, but it's just been a lot of people have advised me through the years always to give that time to God, that time to my husband, that time to the kids. So I think that also has been something that I heard a long time ago was always to just no deje que like no deje que el ministerio sobre like don't let it take over the time from your family and your kids.
mm.
Yes.
And I think that's been a big thing. If anything, that's been a big thing that I've always gone by. And I think I've said it before and I've said it everywhere. Like I do have my time blocks on my calendar that there's times that I can't go out to minister. And I tell people like and they need to know, and maybe they'll know it today for the first time. When I tell you I'm busy that weekend, it might not necessarily mean I'm busy ministering.
Yeah.
I have a family, so I do have a time block. I don't need to tell you what I'm doing, but if I
That's
have a
true.
time block on that weekend, it might just be to watch a movie with my kids at home. It might just be
Yeah.
because I refuse to save the world and lose my family. I
Mm.
Yes.
refuse to save the world and have my kids be another prisoner. I said it a few days ago at a youth panel that we were sitting on, and I said I remember being 18 and going to the ministries to prison, and I remember seeing all these children's kids there, and I'm like, all these pastors' kids in prison. I'm not gonna be that person. My kids are not gonna be in jail because they had to find family on the streets because they couldn't
Yes.
find family at home. It's not gonna happen. And like that's just if anything I can say, yeah, just that advice that I've heard through the years constantly is give that time to your family. Ministry, the first ministry is the family.
Mhm.
Yes.
Take care of yourself, you take care of, and I live I'm very big about my local church. Like
Mm.
you do local church, you do your family. My kids need a local church because at the end of the day, as much as everyone tells you they love you, your local church is the one that sees your kids struggle.
Yep.
Your
Yes.
local church is the one that sees them week by week, every 2 times a week, 3 times a week. They're the ones that know, and they're the village that you have around you. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I need to make sure that I'm always about them so that they can always be about me as well. So yeah, that's just the biggest thing. Just making sure that ministry doesn't overtake my family's time.
Mm.
It will not.
Amen.
That was
Yeah.
so good. That was no. That was good advice. I think me and Michelle have been talking about that as well because I think, and I don't see the time there, but I think for us, when I got married, one of the biggest things for me was like, okay, I need people around me that can speak to my season,
Yeah.
right? That I can go to and say, hey, like, husband, wife, another like couple as well. So like finding that counsel around you that you can go to and they can hold you accountable as well. I think as a marriage, I think we speak about this all the time. I'm like, it's hard. That's a blessing. Like, to be able to find people that you can like go to. And I'm hoping that this kind of conversation sparks so that other marriages can have people that they can go to. Because
Yeah.
sometimes like that's like hard to
That
find.
becomes difficult. That's true.
So that's helpful for me. Like I need to find some
Oh, you got Brenda, Jose.
godly, no, for real, some
And
godly couples that I can like tap into and say, hey, listen, Michelle didn't cook my food right today. What do I do? No, I'm playing.
I'm done. I'm done.
I'm about to
No,
get
and I
him.
want to say something that you just mentioned, and we have 3 minutes and 20
Okay,
seconds
okay.
left. But something that you just mentioned was, yeah, because you don't want to have the ones that are the yeah. You're right, you're right.
Mhm.
You want to have people that hold you accountable. That's
Exactly.
that's where that's too, because you can have people constantly. I would hate to have a circle of friends that when I told them I was frustrated with Jose would just go along with it and say, yeah, man, yeah, this you're right. No, I need someone to say, pero y tú? Like, what's going on with
Exactly.
you? What have you? And that's what I have. Like, I
That's so
literally
good.
know that the people that I have around me will just tell me, like, yeah, but what are you doing wrong, or what's going on with you? Why do you feel? And they'll make me see things from both points of view. So that's very important.
Yeah, and then
Accountability.
to anybody that's watching, that's like listening to this, that's like completely important. First of all, Brenda said, like she has a circle. So you need that support system that's gonna hold you accountable. So if you're somebody, that's out there listening and you're in need of advice and in need of counsel, make sure that you surround yourself with the correct people, with the right people that are again gonna hold you accountable in every single area, in ministry, in the marriage, in the home,
Yeah,
because that's unfortunately a lot of people don't have that nowadays. We don't It's not very easy that you may find somebody that's
yeah.
gonna hold you in that place.
Oh my God, this was so good. I wish we could like have another like hour.
We're gonna have
Maybe we'll do it
we're
again.
gonna
Maybe we'll
have
do
a
it again.
session two, and we're gonna
But,
include Jose in this
yeah, we need
too.
Jose. We
Yes,
need Jose in this.
yes.
No, but I just want to thank you, Brenda, for joining, taking some out of your time, on this Monday night to like talk to us. We really appreciate that. I know you have a lot of songs coming. Um, and I'm gonna put this out there publicly. I'm going to write something so that me and Brenda can get some, get
Yes.
in the studio and record.
And
Um,
can we say that Brayley has written my number one
no,
song on
no,
my
no, no,
album?
no, no, no,
Flores
no,
Santo was
no.
written by Brayley Rivera, the one
No.
and only. He's right here.
No, no, but it's truly, no, it's an honor to see where like God is taking you, and like, and it's amazing to see. So, um, no, Brenda's family, Brenda, so kind of like seeing God really pour into you, into your family, seeing you and Jose step into that leadership role and kind of fall into, a good church with good leaders, like that's amazing. So like blessings, grace, riches, God's blessings,
Everything.
everything over you and your kids, like, and Michelle, I'll give it to you.
Amen. Love you
Amen.
guys. Give a hug and a kiss to my babies.
I
I love
will.
them. Oh
I
my God, Maria and Levi. So I love you guys. And, like you said, we're family. So
Yes, thank
I'm waiting
you.
for the second one. Okay.
All right.
So,